Pets Fit is our New Year's resolution for dogs. If you've ever thought about giving yourself a New Year's resolution of being happier and healthier, losing weight and being more active, this is for you. So I've joined forces with one of my lovely friends, Rory the vet, who is joining us this evening. I always get envy when I talk to Rory, because if any of you have followed my journey, you know that I wanted to be a vet growing up, but I couldn't actually cope with the idea of having to put an animal down. So every time me and Rory have a chat, we go into this little rabbit hole of all things dogs, well, mainly dogs, because I'm not much of a cat, although Rory does have a four-legged furry friend. So what we want to do today, you've got three.
He's got 3 legs.
He's got 3 legs.
He's got a tripod. You should have guessed that one.
No, I didn't actually know that. See, there you go. You're getting a sneak peek here. So you guys might recognise Rory. Rory has done some amazing work in the community, but he's also Blue Peter's resident vets, teaching our young children how to look after animals. He's done a lot of stuff on Lorraine and ITV, and we're really, really privileged to have him here with us. So Rory, for the few people living under a rock that haven't seen you before, tell everybody a little bit about your background and how you ended up coming to look after our little furry friends.
Well, firstly, thank you for having me. It's always nice working with you. If you're like this height or shorter, you probably know who I am. I'm on CBBC mainly. I've always wanted to be a vet since I was the age of 4. I was inspired when I first got my first dog called Lulu, and she was a Great Dane, and she was like the best thing ever. And then sort of fast forward 15 years, I applied to vet school, got in, and I studied the Royal Veterinary College in London. I graduated there 2015, and I started working in South London. I was actually just out in Kent for the first year and a half, and then I have been working at a place called the Neighbourhood Vet in East Dulwich for the last 3 years now, and we've built a really good clinic there. I'm predominantly a dog and cat vet. Since then, I've been started work with CBBC, as I said, so I've been doing a show called The Pets Factor. You very rightly pointed out I'm on Blue Peter's, their resident vet, done Lorraine, done some stuff with This Morning, done some BBC News work, so all bits and pieces. And really my ethos, everything I do comes back to educating people as to how to look after their dog simply the best way they physically can.
Yeah, and one of the things also that you forgot to mention is you're a big ambassador for street vets who actually go out and help those on the streets who are homeless with animals, which is a huge thing. We can't forget about that. But Rory, I obviously kind of bombarded and railroaded you with this campaign just before Christmas. So I messaged you and said,
never do that.
I would never do that, would I? So I literally, for those of you watching, I literally called up Rory, because Rory and I met at a few events earlier this summer, and we bonded over our love of dogs, and I made Rory make the first prize winner in a puppy competition. It was a bulldog, and you absolutely did not want to do that. You wanted another puppy, and I insisted, so there we go. I got my own way, and that's always the start of a good friendship with me.
I gave him.
You gave in. So I railroaded Rory, and I had a conversation because we've got a community of dog owners, and I started getting a little bit concerned about the volume of dogs that we're seeing that are overweight, some of the skin issues and the joint issues, the increasing costs of pet insurance. By the way, Lulu's just decided to jump up because she's heard your voice.
I heard some snoring there.
Oh, snoring, you cheeky bugger. Lulu's just decided to come say hello to Rory. She loves her Uncle Rory. So I railroaded Rory into getting involved in this campaign from the perspective of how busy he is. And Rory, you obviously have a lot of these challenges. You see lots of pet owners in your practice day in, day out. What's your biggest worry at the moment about what's going on in the pet world?
You're absolutely right, and you've mentioned obesity. I mean, so there was a big survey done of vets really recently, and it highlighted the 3 biggest concerns in the canine industry. Overweight pets was number 1, and then the 2 that followed up were dentistry, so bad tooth health, and arthritis. They were your big 3 main concerns from vets about the canine sort of population. I see so many pets overweight. It's so rare that I see someone come in with a really nicely sort of conditioned pet that sometimes I'm like, oh my god, amazing.
You have seen Frank. You know, my Frank is in a good space.
I've seen Frank a few times, and absolutely he is. But there are so many animals out there that are overweight, and it does lead to so many problems, as you very rightly point out. So joint issues, heart issues, cystitis, skin issues, the list goes on. So it is, I mean, when you came at me with this, I was like, yes, 100% needs to be done.
Okay, so take it back a step, because you've just mentioned a couple of things that we haven't talked about. So you've just mentioned obviously the ones that would come front and centre. So obesity comes with its own problems, joint issues, but you've just mentioned their heart issues, cystitis.
Yeah, I mean, so absolutely. So the more weight going through the body, the more pressure there is on the other organs. If you think about a fat dog, everyone thinks, okay, it's overweight on the outside. That's wrong. It's overweight on the inside as well. So there's more fat in the abdomen. There's more fat surrounding the organs, putting more pressure on them, and equally then leading to problems with those. So we do see those dogs die earlier, and it is that simple. It is so serious. They die earlier from diseases that they just wouldn't get at that age. So it's really, really important.
Yeah, I think I heard it's on average something like a dog that's not healthy is about 2 years, lives about 2 years less, which is, you know, for all of us is quite scary. And I think, you know, there's a moment here to take consideration that we all know that we love our dogs, and sometimes we are killing them a little bit with kindness, because when we're having that cup of tea and they want that little bit of toast or a digestive biscuit, as somebody else said earlier to me, you know, those puppy dog eyes do go quite far. But what do you think, because you see it day in, day out, what do you think is the real cause of it all?
It's humanisation of dogs. That's the crux of it for me. It's people thinking about dogs not as dogs. It's about them thinking of them as humans. Now, that has good parts and bad parts to it. By no means am I saying that that's an absolutely terrible thing, because it's lovely to spoil your dogs. I spoil my dogs. I have done for years. Everyone does it. But it's about knowing how far you can go and what's okay, and at what point you just need to stop and say, okay, actually, you know what? I'm going from treating to actually damaging my dog here.
Yeah. Okay. So, and this is another thing that is kind of a bit of a bugbear of mine, and I know that you'll agree with it. It's not just about putting your dog on a scale and going, oh, my breed average is between here and here. It's heavy boned, or, you know, for prime example. So you've seen Frank, you know, you've had lovely cuddles with Frank, and I will use him as an example because he's a very, very healthy bulldog. But if you look at him by weight and you compare that of Lulu's, you know, she's shorter legged, she's slightly stumpier. She's mummy's little dumpling, and she does need to lose a couple of kilos. How can people watching this video, we don't want to leave people with a sense of overwhelm right now, thinking, oh my God, is my dog overweight? Is it not? What would your advice be to somebody who's sitting here right now watching this video, looking at their dog, trying to make a decision?
So there's a really easy way to do it. We don't do weight. I don't work in numbers. I never have done with weight. And I think that is something that comes later on. The first thing you need to do when you're addressing an overweight or a possibly overweight dog is do a thing called a body condition score. And a body condition score is essentially a scale between either 1 and 5 or 1 and 9, depending on where you look. And if you just Google body condition score, there's a load of companies out there that just have like these charts, and it basically takes you through what you need to do to be able to score your own dog. And it's things like palpating over the ribs and looking down on them and seeing if they've got a tucked waist, and seeing if they've got a tuck in their abdomen from the side. Feeling over their spine, making sure their spine's the top part of it. And absolutely, there's slight breed differences, so you have to be a little careful there. But as a general rule, it will give you an idea whether they are over, okay, or underweight.
Okay.
If you're struggling, go to a professional, go to a vet, or go to a vet nurse, or speak to someone you know that knows about this sort of thing. A lot of things like groomers and nutritionists and those sorts of guys, they will know this as well. So speak to anyone that you know that you trust. Get them to condition score your dog, and then you can go from there. And then weigh them at that point and come up with a sensible target loss. So say, for example, we scored a dog at a 6 out of 9. That was a bit overweight. It's a 25 kilo dog. Realistically, to get it down to a 5, which would be perfect, you want to say maybe target 1.5 kilos. And that is then a nice starting point. And then you get them to that 1.5 kilos, you put them back on the scales, okay, I'm there now. We're going to re-body condition score, see how they feel, because that's what you're always going to come back to. It's not about numbers.
Okay, so if I'm doing that, and I'm just looking at Lulu here as my example, because they eat the same, they exercise. I
was going to use your example now.
Yeah, you can, it's all right. I can take it from you, it's fine. So, let's imagine, let's just make it honest. Lulu needs to lose 1.5 stones. Stone and a half, that's me, not her. I need to lose 1.5 stones, and Lulu needs to lose 1.5 kilos. I don't know what I'm doing in terms of how much to feed her. I don't want to underfeed her. I don't want her to be hungry. What's a safe and sensible way to reduce her calories?
So you need to work out what you're doing. So if you want to get her to shed 1.5 kilos, you need to work out exactly what you're feeding at this point. So what I would usually say, the easiest way to do it is not, and I know you do your diet the way you do your diet, and that makes it slightly more tricky when you're adding things in and changing things on a daily basis and using different meats. So that makes it quite tricky, because actually if you can keep the diet the same, say, for example, if you're feeding a formulated raw food, so say as, I don't know, Poppy's Picnic, something like that, it's just about reducing quantity. Whereas the way you feed and the way a lot of your community feeds, it's about trying to reduce the higher calorie content of the food and increase the lower calories. So really simple, reducing the meat and reducing the red meats, particularly because they're higher in fat, using the leaner cuts, reducing calorific things like eggs, and actually increasing things like vegetables.
Didn't know about eggs, by the way. Lulu's had an egg tonight.
Right, so eggs are actually surprisingly high in calorie. An average egg is about 90 to 100 calories, I believe. So, and don't quote me on that, but I think that's about right, which is quite a lot if you think about the genuine calorie intake for a dog. Now, if you really want to geek out on it, I can teach you how to work out how many calories your dog needs. It's a really easy equation.
Go on, then.
And then you could even use something like a tracker app here we go, we're brainstorming now, tracker app to actually look at, okay, the ingredients going in, what are the calories in it, and then actually working it out. So a resting energy requirement for a dog is 30 times their body weight plus 70.
Right, 30 times their body weight.
That is resting energy requirement.
Yep. So that's what they're doing if they're not being active, they're sedentary, they've just had an operation, they're not doing much.
Spot on. So, for example, a 10-kilo dog, which is not Lulu, but a 10-kilo dog would be 370 grams. So 370 calories, sorry. So 370 calories, if you're feeding an egg every day, an egg being about 90 calories, that's a huge amount of their daily intake. So it just starts to get to think about actually, okay, how much calories does my dog actually need? And we're going, again there, back to the humanization thing, because people think, oh, but it looks so small in the bowl. Yeah, your dog's a lot smaller than you are. Probably doesn't need as much food as you. So it's just about really thinking, okay, Lulu, how much does Lulu weigh? Remind me.
She's about 24, 25.
24 kilos, okay. So it's basically a third of my body weight. So if you think about it that way, if you work out what your dog weighs, work out what you weigh, work out, okay, so it's about a third. So I need about 2,000 calories a day. Therefore, Lulu needs about 650, 700 calories a day. That's a really butchered version, because actually she needs less than that. But even then, it's just getting you to think about, okay, she actually needs a lot less than I think she does.
Okay, and what do you think, for example, we've got some of the mature dogs and we're thinking about some of the breeds that are more prone to arthritic conditions and joints. And I know we're going to cover other areas of the campaign about things that we can do there, so I don't want to spoil that for other people. But let's talk about diet and things like that. What's your recommendation in terms of, do we keep those dogs slightly leaner that have got joints, or is there nothing in that?
Absolutely, 100%. The less weight, we know this, the less weight going through those joints, the less change there is in those joints. So if you can keep them lean, especially as they're getting into that middle, older age, you're going to have a much happier dog longer term.
Okay. And what's some of your favourite veggies? For example, I'm sure you've had some people in clinic that have come in and they needed to lose some kilos. And what's your go-to veggies? What's your top tips if I was sitting in there with podgy little Lulu and you would be telling me off saying I need to get her to lose some weight?
So my go-to, there's two, is courgette and broccoli.
Like it.
Courgette particularly, because courgette has a lot of water weight in it. A huge amount of water weight in it. So actually they feel like they're eating a load, but they're getting no calories. A bit like celery for humans. Though we've also got to touch on there, and I'm sorry if I'm going to ruin this, because I am going to ruin it. We've got to think about what you can do with the diet. Yeah, you're shaking your head at me, I see you. What you can do with the diet to actually benefit the movement of that dog. And then you've got to think about things like omega-3 and 6. But I'm going to stop there because I'm going to ruin it.
No, it's fine. This is what it is. It's all the fun stuff. So, okay, as a starting point, we're talking about, so also what should we be doing in terms of, or not doing? So I don't want to see people looking at this and saying, I need my dog to lose a certain amount of weight and trying to do it too quickly. So what's a safe period? If Lulu's got to lose 1.5 kilos, What time frame should I be trying to do it over?
Realistically, somewhere between 3 and 6 months. And the more weight they need to lose, the longer it needs to be. So work out what sort of percent of body weight that is, and then work it out from there. You really don't want them losing more than about 2.5% body weight every 4 to 6 weeks. So that you want to do it nice and slowly. And remember as well, a lot of these dogs will actually be growing. So if they are obese, likelihood is they are continuing to put weight on. So actually, when you first address this and you first start this, in reality, the first change you make will probably just keep them at the same weight. And that is a win. Don't
Oh,
feel
wow. I didn't know that at all.
So my analogy that I always use for people coming in with their pets, and say, for example, you bring me Lulu, and I'm going to be really mean here because this isn't the truth, but say, for example, I've seen you 6 months ago and she weighed 22 kilos, and I've seen you yesterday and she weighs 25. So she's put 3 kilos on in that period. So we've got a graph. If we were to put on a graph, we've got a graph going like this, okay? What we currently have, in my analogy, and this is a weird analogy, we've got a train that's going forward, okay? What I'm going to ask you to do by getting her to lose weight is stop that train going forward and then reverse it.
Okay.
So actually, the first change you've got to make is stop the train. And I always say to people, come back to me in 8 weeks. And if you've stopped the train in 8 weeks, good on you. That's awesome. Then we address reversing that train. Because this isn't an overnight fix. This isn't something you can do in 4 weeks. This is something we're looking at doing probably in a dog that is really carrying quite a lot of weight. You're probably looking at doing it over 6 months, 12 months, maybe even 2 years. And it is really that long a period. They can put weight on super quickly. We all know it. We've seen it with our own dogs. We've seen it with ourselves. You eat badly for like 3 weeks and, oh my goodness, you look in the mirror and you go, oh my God, what did I eat? And that rate of increase is so quick, but you cannot mimic that on the way down. You've got to do it slowly.
Do you know what? I absolutely love that because I didn't know that. And I'm going to make a bit of a joke with it, but there's a seriousness in it. Like, this is the only weight loss clinic where you get a gold star for actually not losing a pound in the first...
Right.
Yeah. But actually, I think that's so important a message for people to hear because I could imagine me as Lulu's fur mum, if I walked into your clinic and she didn't lose, an ounce, I would feel like I did something wrong. I would really be really disappointed.
And I see that all the time. People do that. They put them on scales and go, oh, she's not lost any. I'm like, no, but you've stopped it. That's great. That's amazing. You should be celebrating that. Now is the time. Once you've stopped the train, now is the time to lose. And they come in 4 weeks later and they go, oh, you're so right. We've now lost some weight. And that is what it's all about.
Okay, amazing. So I really appreciate you coming on because it's been fabulous and I know how tired you are. You've been doing a busy day. You've been helping all of our fur babies stay healthy and safe. So kind of final thoughts in this subject. What would be, if you, with all your knowledge and have seen all the dogs you have, if you could impart one little nugget, what you wish everybody knew, what would it be?
I think it's the equation, and because I'm a massive geek, it's the equation. It is energy going in minus energy going out equals energy gained. So if you can just remember that equation in your head, what goes in minus what comes out is what the dog gets. So if you're thinking what goes in is the food, what comes out is the exercise, if you can address those two things, you're going to get results. It's exactly the same for humans, it's exactly the same for dogs. So just remember that. It's a super simple thing.
Okay, that's been amazing. Thank you so much, Rory. We're looking forward to having you back as part of our campaign. Guys, if you've been watching this and you've been enjoying our video and you want to get involved with our Get Pets Fit campaign, there is a £400 prize at stake for you from all of the leaders in the industry. We've got so much goodies. Rory, you should see it down there. It's like Christmas for the dogs. I've had to hide it.
I'm going to break in and steal it. I'm not there.
Just head to www.getpetsfit.com, and what we're going to do to make sure you don't miss any of this important stuff, like these interviews with Rory, is make sure we send this out to you on a regular basis and keep you involved in our conversations, our discussions, and make sure that you get all of this information for free. Guys, people would pay hundreds of pounds to have had the opportunity to sit with Rory for even this period of time to learn those golden nuggets. I know that's been hugely beneficial to me, as it will do to you. So thank you so much, Rory, for joining us, and I'll catch up with you very soon.
You will do.
Speak to you soon. Bye.
Yeah.